And in 2002, the U.S. administration was trying to convince President Musharraf in Pakistan to fight terrorism and to promote democracy. Yet they weren't able to convince him. However, by one phone call from his own son, President Musharraf's son, was studying at a U.S. university in America. His son, with one phone call, calls him and convinces his father that he should indeed fight terrorism and promote democracy. He was convinced. This proved that U.S. universities are a source of soft power. Not the Pentagon, not their tanks, not weapons of mass destruction, but their universities. Joseph Nye's theory is that today in modern politics, soft power is proven to be more effective than hard power. If a nation has a good ideology, an appealing ideology, a set of principles and values, like democracy, like human rights and human freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, all they have to do is promote these values in a persuasive manner, in a convincing manner. They don't need to use hard power. And he mentions that today the U.S. has two major sources of soft power. What are those? He calls them the two H's, Hollywood and Harvard. These are the two major sources of soft power for the United States of America. No one can deny the power of Hollywood. It's the power of the media, channeling public opinion, getting people to think like you through the power of media. Of course, common people, usually the common people, are influenced by Hollywood. And you have the power of Harvard as well. The intellectual world is influenced and persuaded by Harvard. People look to Harvard for intellectual discourse, for intellectual research. Thus, the U.S. has two major sources of soft power that it could use instead of using its hard power. Finally, he gives an example. He says that in the Cold War, the U.S. was in a war with the Soviet Union. And at the end, the U.S. won. How? Not by hard power, by soft power. How was that? The Soviet Union was telling its citizens that the U.S. is built upon capitalism, and capitalism is no good. But at the same time, the citizens of the Soviet Union were watching on TV, were watching U.S. movies, that Americans do not need to wait in long lines to get food. They don't need to live in apartments with 10 or 15 people. They all drive cars. They're all doing very well financially. That's it. They lost the war within. The Soviet Union collapsed from within. My friends, Islam was the first religion that preached soft power. We don't need anyone to tell us and to teach us about soft power. The first person that spoke about soft power was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Yet many people don't know this. Many people don't know anything about Islam. Muslims don't know anything about Islam, let alone non-Muslims. Many non-Muslims don't know anything about Islam. They don't know anything about Muslims or Muslim countries. A couple of months ago, I was in America. I went to a restaurant. I got my food. The cashier, she asked me, "What country are you from?" I told her, "Guess." She said, "India." I said, "Close." She said, "Pakistan." I said, "No, but you're getting closer." She said, "Afghanistan." I realized it was a mistake to tell her to guess. It was going to take all night. I said, "Let me help you. Let me give you a hint. I come from a country that's oil rich and has been occupied by the United States of America." She said, said, oh, of course, Israel. I said, have you ever checked your IQ before? This is reality. Many people don't know anything about Islam, let alone Muslim countries. People don't know their own geography. At another time, I don't know if I've said this story before, but it's useful. I might have said it here on the same exact number, but I'll say it again. One time I had a flight going from Detroit to Miami in the United States. And I remember I sat next to this couple, this African-American couple, this black couple. The husband and his wife sitting next to me. One of my brothers calls me on the phone, and it's quite natural that I speak Arabic with my brother. I'm not going to speak in English with my brother. I speak Arabic. As soon as I started speaking Arabic, I saw him got nervous. He became extremely nervous. He started whispering stuff between them. Anyway, after I hung up, the man, he looked at me and he said, "Sir, my wife and I are extremely concerned." I said, "Is there a problem?" He said, "Yes, there's a great problem on this flight." My mind immediately went to the engine. There's something probably wrong with the engine. I said, "Is there anything wrong with the plane?" He said, "No, there's something wrong with you." Finally, I got what he meant. He said, "Sir, I just want to tell you that my wife and I, we have an 8-year-old daughter, and she's waiting for us in Miami. We haven't seen her in over 10 days. Please think about her." At that point, I honestly did not know whether to laugh or to cry. I told him, "You know what, sir? Just for the sake of your daughter, I'm going to make sure we land okay." I told him, "Listen, every Muslim that you..." And by the way, I was not dressed like this. I was dressed casual. I don't know, God, what would have happened if I was dressed like this? I told him, "Listen, every Muslim that you see, a person with a beard or someone speaking Arabic, he's immediately a terrorist? He's immediately going to blow up a plane? What sort of life is this? There's 7, some say 8 million Muslims in the United States of America. They're all terrorists? They're regular human beings just like you. They're peaceful people." I told him, "You can't make generalizations like that. You, out of all people, you're African American, you should know that." I told him, "Listen, did you know that here in the United States, in prisons, in U.S. prisons, most of the people in U.S. prisons are black. That's just how it is." I told him, "How would you like it if I called you a criminal? Because most of the criminals in U.S. prisons are black. Would you like it if I called you a criminal?" Absolutely not. You wouldn't like it. So how can you make a generalization like that? Anyhow, this is reality, my friends. This is reality. People are affected by the media. People don't know anything about Islam. Unfortunately, the only thing that they know about Islam is that if a Muslim kills himself, there's 72 virgins waiting for him in heaven. That's it. This is the only thing. And I don't know where they came up from. They came up with this. Abu Hurairah or someone else, maybe. Islam, my dear friends, was the first religion to speak about soft power. The Quran says, "La ikraha fi d-din." There is no compulsion in religion. There is no force in religion. You cannot force anyone to become Muslim. You can't. And even if you did, for example, you grab someone and you force them to become Muslim, and Islam is not accepted. Because with Islam, there needs to be an intention. You can't enforce Islam, and you can't enforce Islamic teachings. You can't go and knock at a person's door and say, "Do you pray?" And then if he hasn't prayed, you beat him. You can't do that. You can't force people to pray or to fast. Yes, if they, for example, and our scholars mention this, that if during the day in Ramadan, in an Islamic country, if someone comes out holding a burger and eating in front of everyone, this person has to be punished. Why? Because he's defying. He's challenging. Not because he broke his fast, but because he's causing a fitna in society. Otherwise, we don't force anyone. There's no compulsion in religion. Indonesia, which is the largest Muslim country today,